winning culture. The ability to communicate clearly and passionately in a way that involves, informs, encourages, and inspires people to do better and to be better. To do better and to be better. Employees' number one complaint in any business: nobody tells us what's going on here. Yeah, hear it all the time. Nobody ever tells us what's going on. They want us to be involved and committed, but they won't communicate. See, a lot of companies, they run on the mushroom theory of management and communication. The mushroom theory of management and communication is this: most of the time we keep our people in the dark, and then every once in a while we throw a little shit on them. Now, it might work for mushrooms. It does not work for people. People are not mushrooms. Here's what your team wants to know. This is what they want you to communicate. They want to know what we're doing and how we're doing. They want to know why the role that they play is important. The number one reason that people stop trying in business is that they believe that they don't make a difference. Now think about that. If you actually believe that you don't make a difference, why would you keep trying? I try. I really work hard. I try. Doesn't make a difference. I don't try. That's easier. Doesn't make a difference. You'd be stupid to keep trying. And then people need to know what their levels of responsibility, authority, and freedom are. Imagine a football team that had to play under the following circumstances, the following conditions. There's no scoreboard, so they have no idea if they're winning or losing the game. There's no clock, so there's no deadlines. There's no playbook, which means there's no plan. The rules keep changing, and there's no cheerleaders and no fans, so there's no encouragement. What kind of a game? You'd pay those guys $6 million a year. What kind of game would you get? Nothing. Nothing. And yet so many businesses expect their players to play under those circumstances. Are your people in the dark, informed, or truly committed? Because there's three categories that your staff can be in: completely in the dark, informed, or ideally committed. See, if we tell them, they're informed, but if we involve them, they're committed. Just human nature. If they're involved, they're committed. And so many companies pride themselves on having their staff be informed, when what they really ought to do is to get them committed. Now listen up and get with the program. You're informed here. No. And then tell them why. Tell them why. Because when you say, this is what we're going to do you have any further ideas here? Because this is what we're trying to achieve in our business. Well, as soon as you tell them what it is that we're trying to achieve, the why, then you get much better buy-in, much better teamwork. But also the good people will say, well, if that's what you're trying to achieve, I have a few suggestions here. Maybe we could do it even better if we did this and this and this. But if you just tell them and you expect blind compliance, then all you're going to get is blind compliance. How we communicate, there's a number of ways that we communicate in our business. Now, some of the obvious, we just stand up and talk to our employees. But actually, there are all these ways that we communicate. Number one, our written or informal vision and mission, values, and standards. And they can be written or they could be informal, but they need to exist. Number two, our documented and informal structures, policies, and processes. They all communicate to everybody. Our budgets and financial commitments communicate what we're going to earn. Our ongoing training and coaching of each person, of course, communicates. Our manuals and specifications, our formal and informal training and coaching, our company intranet. Large companies are more and more successfully using intranets, internal company networks, for training, for coaching, for exchanging information. Our daily example, our attitudes, our decisions, our actions, and our words. What do they communicate? The behavior that we reward or punish, and how we reward and how we punish. Memos, meetings, conferences, newsletters, our physical surroundings. When I'm touring a company that's a client, one of the first things I do is ask to see the company washrooms for the office people and for the small people in the back, the factory people, or the retail clerks. And then I look at the cafeteria. Is there an executive cafeteria? Is there a little room for everybody else? What do the surroundings look like? Because those are powerful communicators to how valuable we think our people are. And we communicate through special events and picnics and celebrations. We communicate by giving back. Because when we give back to the community, we communicate to our employees that you belong to something that matters, something that's important here, something that's making a difference in our community. Do you think McDonald's employees are proud of the fact that McDonald's spends a lot of money building Ronald McDonald houses next door to children's hospitals all over the world? Do you think they're proud of that? They may be more proud of that than they are of the burgers. I don't know. And then our advertising communicates to our staff. In fact, in many cases, companies' advertising is actually as targeted at staff as it is at customers. A&P, several years ago, A&P supermarkets were going down the tubes. Their staff were so demoralized, and they created an advertising campaign that looked like a consumer advertising campaign that was actually targeted at their staff, at their team. And it was a campaign that talked about price and pride. Because what they found was that their employees were demoralized because they thought that their company they worked for was not price competitive. So they talked about their price and how competitive they were, and they talked about the pride of the company. And it was completely targeted at their staff, not at their consumers and customers. So how we advertise communicates to our staff. Here's an interesting concept called repeater stations. Now, if you pick up the phone in your office to call California, so here you are at head office, pick up the phone, California at the other end of the line, you dial the number, and immediately someone picks up the phone in California, and everything that you say on the phone is heard exactly as you say it. If you raise your voice, it's heard as a raised voice on the other end. If you whisper, it's heard as a whisper at the other end. The words are the same, the intonation is the same on the telephone. Because what the telephone company has is repeater stations. Every couple of 100 miles, there's a repeater station. And your head office phone is connected to a system which sends signals through the air. And then the signal, it starts to fade. It's picked up by a repeater station. It's amplified, and it's sent to the next repeater station. It starts to fade. It's amplified, and it goes instantly across the country to California so that everything you say on the phone is heard exactly as you said it. But in business, it doesn't work that way, does it? So what we have is we have a message coming from head office to our frontline people and our customers, and in between we have people called vice presidents and managers and supervisors and other people, and the question is, in your business, are they amplifiers or are they filters? Because the telephone works because they're amplifiers. They receive, they send out exactly the same message, even stronger, so that it's heard at the other end. But in business, we mostly don't have amplifiers. We have filters. They hear the message from head office. They say, I know better than head office. I'm going to tell it my way. And because I'm tired today, I'm going to say it with about half the passion that they did. And by the time, so you have these strong double lines here, and they go through a filter and they become one line, and then they become little fuzzy pink lines, and the message sent is not the message received. So when it comes to communication in your business, do you have amplifiers or filters? And you know, even when we don't communicate, we actually do communicate. Not communicating is communication. Anybody here married? I mean, that's pretty clear, right? When we don't communicate with our staff, we are actually communicating loud and clear that we don't care about them and their stress. We don't care about what kind of job they do, and ultimately we don't care about anything, so why should they? If we don't care, why should they? And then, of course, the other important part of communication is congruency. Congruency of our words and our actions over time. Are we congruent? Ultimately, we are what we do, not what we say. And people are watching what we do and listening with great suspicion to what we say. Do we consistently model the attitudes, values, standards, and actions that we expect from our people? Congruency or hypocrisy? Choose one.